Good day everyone, I am April Rosie Nalangan, a doctoral sustainability student, and this is my peer evaluation which I will be exploring the CSR communication framework and evaluation prepared by Ms. Sheila Mae Carungay on Adamson University's Integrated Community Extension Services, also known as ICES. For the objectives of this presentation, we have three. First is to analyze the evaluation framework developed by Ms. Sheila Carungay. Second is to examine the evaluation of Adamson University's ICES. And lastly, I will be sharing my recommendations and learning experience about this CSR communication program evaluation. Ms. Sheila structured her evaluation framework around 4 dimensions. There are inputs, message effectiveness, engagement, and impact. So for the inputs, it assessed alignment and reach. For the message effectiveness, it looked at the clarity, recall, and credibility. For the engagement, it focused on participation and feedback, while the impact examined community outcomes and behavior change. So the framework draws from stakeholder theory by Freeman, two-way communication by Dunig and Hunt, and CSR, transparency standards supported by the Global Reporting Initiative. So these foundations make the framework holistic and aligned with the best practices in CSR communication. The structure encourages organizations to connect communications not just for visibility but to legitimacy and impact, consistent with more screenshots on CSR communication strategies. So for the evaluation framework gaps and opportunities, despite the sound foundations, the framework remains largely qualitative. Without KPIs, dimensions like recall or engagement, it will be difficult to assess objectively. So the framework also references stakeholder theory but lacks a formal stakeholder mapping, which scholars like Michel et al. Stakeholder silence model argue is essential for prioritizing communication. So, for the opportunities, strengthening the framework with KPIs, stakeholder silence tools would provide a more strategic, data-driven approach to CSR communication. So, when it comes to the analysis of Adamson University ICES evaluation, Ms. Sheila highlights several strengths of the ICES communication. So, first, she correctly captures strong alignment with the Vincentian mission, which is crucial for CSR authenticity, according to Du et al. Second, ICES also uses multiple communication channels, the website, Facebook reports, and on-ground events. Third, she also notes the presence of multi-stakeholder partnerships, reflecting practical application of stakeholder theory of Freeman. And lastly, there are communication benefits from high institutional credibility consistent with the findings by Elia et al. On institutional trust in CSR communication. On the other hand, there are critical gaps identified. First, the absence of storytelling and beneficiary narratives, which is a key component of effective CSR communication according to Gell. The tone is also mostly institutional, which limits authenticity and emotional resonance. And there's a lack of KPIs, which aligns with gaps found in many CSR programs without formal metrics, according to the study of Maon et al. So Ms. Sheila is right, ICES risk appearing activity-based rather than impact-based despite having meaningful programs. So to strengthen its CSR communication strategy, Adamson ICES should begin with stakeholder identification and mapping so it can correctly apply the stakeholder information response or involvement strategies described by Morsi and Schultz. So from there, the ICES needs a strategic architecture that ties the Vincentian mission to program narratives and measurable results. So the strategy should also become data-driven using KPIs such as engagement, sentiment, and outcome metrics to refine communication decisions. Also, the ICES must shift towards stakeholder-centered storytelling, highlighting authentic beneficiary voices and community transformation. And finally, the Adamson University ICES should enhance impact transparency by reporting outcomes using the GRI-inspired dashboards and clear community impact stories. So altogether, the steps create a more strategic, engaging, and accountable CSR communication approach for Adamson University ICES. When it comes to exploring what I have learned and how it will improve my own framework, Ms. Sheila's emphasis on mission alignment made me realize that this should be an explicit criterion in my own evaluation framework. So her distinction between offline and online engagement revealed that my own framework should have separate indicators for physical participation and digital interaction. And also, her highlighting of storytelling gaps made me recognize that narrative quality should be a formal dimension, not just a sub-criterion. So that would be all, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to share my insights in the CSR Communication Framework evaluation.